What's up guys, welcome back to Toon Duelists. Today I'm going to show you my Ice Barrier deck profile. Now I know since the last voting, Despia Burn should have been the next one, but since Ice Barrier got some amazing support in Terminal Revenge, I thought it would be best to show you the deck profile now. I've always had a thing for the whole Terminal World lore and all the archetypes in it, but even among those, Ice Barrier has always been my favorite of all the Terminal World archetypes. I just love everything about it, the lore, the artwork, the playstyle. It's just really amazing and I'm very excited to show it to you guys. So without further ado, let's dive right into it. As always, we start things off with the monsters, and the first monster we're talking about is Revealer of the Ice Barrier. It's a safe 3-off because it's our combo starter, and it has the effect that you can discard one card and special summon an Ice Barrier tuner from your deck. Also, you're locked into special summoning water monsters this turn, which doesn't bother us at all. It also has the effect that if you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent can attribute summon, which is neat but doesn't come up that often. And also, if this card's in your graveyard and you activate an Ice Barrier monster's effect, which would discard cards, you can banish this card instead of one of those cards. So overall, awesome card, combo starter, definite 3-off. Next up is Hexa, Spirit of the Ice Barrier. This level 1 tuner has the effect that you can send one level 3 or lower Ice Barrier monster from your deck to the graveyard, and then this card's level becomes the same as that monster's until the end of this turn. Also, while you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent's monster lose 500 attack and defense. Now the important part is definitely sending to the graveyard, because the card we will send is another 3-off, which is our brand new Mirror Mage of the Ice Barrier. This level 2 tuner has an insane effect because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one of your Ice Barrier cards that is banished or in your deck to your hand, except itself. And also, if this card is on the field, you can tribute one other effect monster and special summon up to 3 Ice Barrier tokens level 1. And if you do, you increase its card's level by that number. Also, you cannot special summon from the exit deck except Water Synchro monsters. So you have to keep that in mind that it locks you into Water Synchros, but it's an amazing combo piece, very important in this deck. The next monster we talk about is Speaker of the Ice Barrier. This card has the insane effect that if you control another Ice Barrier monster, you can just special summon this card from your hand. Also, if you control an Ice Barrier monster, you can banish it from the graveyard and special summon one Ice Barrier token level 1 to your side of the field. Also, while you control another Ice Barrier monster, defense position monsters your opponent controls cannot change their battle position. Now the last effect isn't that important, but it's a great extender and the card you most likely will search with your Mirror Mage. Next up is also a new card we got with Terminal Revenge, which is Georgius, Swordsman of the Ice Barrier. Now, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that guy, so I'll just call him Georgie. And Georgie has a really great effect, because if you control another Ice Barrier monster, you can special summon this card in defense position. And if this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon another level 5 or lower Ice Barrier monster from your hand or graveyard. Also, while you control another Ice Barrier monster, your opponent cannot activate the effects of monsters in the graveyard. Now this is also pretty useful, but of course it's also a great extender, it's a tuner, it's everything you can wish for in this deck actually. Next up, we run one copy of Warlock of the Ice Barrier. Now this is one of the cards we want to special summon out with our brand new Lancia, because it has a great lock effect. While you control another Ice Barrier monster, both players must set spell cards before activating them and cannot activate them until their next turn. So basically, you lock your opponent out of spells entirely, which is an insane effect. We only need one because we want to special summon it straight from the deck. It's a brick in hand, so one is totally fine. Next up, we run one General Raiho of the Ice Barrier. Also, only a one-off, also because we want to special summon it with Lancia. It has the effect that when your opponent's monster effect activated on the field resolves, they must discard one card or the effect is negated. So it rips their hand dead or makes their monster effect useless anyway. Insane card. Only thing you have to watch out is this card works without an Ice Barrier monster on the field. This doesn't. So if you want to bring out him, you always have to watch out that you control another Ice Barrier monster. Now let's talk about the non-Ice Barrier monsters we run. And the first one is Ice Jade, Ren, Aegirine. Also not sure if that's correctly pronounced. But it's an insane good card because you can discard another Ice Jade or Water monster and special summon this card and then directly summon one Ice Jade token level 3. Since this card is level 7 and a tuner, it's basically an instant Synchro 10 you just summon out on the field. Insanely good. Also, while you control that token, you're locked into water monsters, but that doesn't bother us at all, of course. We also run a bunch of hand traps. We run 3 Effect Wheeler. I guess everyone knows that, monster negate in your opponent's turn. We of course run 3 Ash Blossom, best hand trap in the game. We then finally also run 1 Ghost Mourner and 1 Drolin Lockbird. Now the last ones we only run them because of Crossout, but definitely good cards and not too bad if you draw into them. Guys, that's it for the monsters. Let's move on with the spells. First of all, we run 3 Medallion of the Ice Barrier. This card is a definite 3-off because it has the insane effect that it lets you add 1 Ice Barrier monster from your deck to your hand. It's not a once per turn, awesome searcher, without discussion, definitely a 3-off. Next up, we run 1 Winds over the Ice Barrier. Now this card has the effect that you contribute any number of Ice Barrier monsters and special summon from your deck that many level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monsters with different names. So it can basically help you if you brick or have some monsters on the field you don't need to bring out your combo starter. Also, during your main phase, except the turn it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish it from the graveyard, target one of your Ice Barrier monsters that is banished on your graveyard and add it back to your hand. So also can be useful for some follow-up, a good one-off. Next up, we also run 1 Freezing Chains of the Ice Barrier. This permanent spell has the effect that if it's activated, you can target 1 level 4 or lower Ice Barrier monster in your graveyard and special summon it, so great extender. And also, while you control 3 or more Ice Barrier monsters you control are unaffected by the activated effects of your opponent's monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck, which is also a pretty good protection. Next up, we run some basics. 2 Triple Tactics Talent. Awesome card for draw power or for hand grip or taking control of your opponent's monster. This card won me duels by himself. Awesome card. We also run 3 Crossout Designator just to keep us safe from hand traps, because actually a good placed Ash Blossom can really choke this deck. So very important right here, and that's also why we run 1 Called by the Grave. That's it for the spells, guys. Let's move on with the traps. First of all, we run 1 Ice Barrier. Now this card is great because first of all it's searchable, and when an attack is declared involving your opponent's monster, you can change that opponent's monster attack to 0, negate its effects, and it cannot change its battle position, and that's permanently. So awesome card right here. But it doesn't stop there, because you can banish this card from a graveyard and send 1 level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to your graveyard, and then add 1 water monster from your graveyard to your hand. So also can search you out monsters from the grave or from deck technically. So really good card, but it's searchable, so we only need 1. And finally, we also run 3 Infinite Impermanence. Of course, great monster negate, great hand trap, and of course, if you run Crossout, you also need an Imperm. That's it for the main deck, guys. Let's move on with the extra deck. For the extra deck, we start off with the non-synchro monsters we run, and first of all, we run 1 Behemoth Shark. This card is insane because it basically lets you special summon out the next Xyz monster, which is totally awesome. Because from Behemoth Shark you can just remove 1 material and then summon 1 Water Xyz monster, rank 3 or lower, which is our Totally, and Totally is just an Omni Negate. Awesome card and definitely part of your first or going first combo. So perfect cards, but we only need them once. That's totally fine. Next up, we run 1 Link 2, which is Marince's Coral Anemone. This card is only useful to special summon out from the graveyard, which will most likely be our Mirror Mage, and can just bring him back and then be tributed to go into your further synchro plays. That's the only use this card has, but very important combo piece. Next up, we also run 1 Brionarch, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This level 6 synchro has the effect that you can discard a random number of cards and then bounce back as many cards as you discarded. So really a great out to some protected monsters right here, and an Ice Barrier monster, so fits the deck perfectly. Next up, we also run one Coral Dragon, insanely important combo piece that lets you or helps you to draw 4 cards in your first turn, but I'll explain that in the combo video, don't forget to check that out. Because Coral Dragon is a level 6 tuner monster, and it also has the effect that you can discard 1 card, target a card your opponent controls and destroy it, but we won't use that. The important part is that if this Synchro Summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can draw a card. And since it's a tuner, it's our step to our bigger monsters, which lets us draw, so awesome card right here. Next up, we also run one Gungnir, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. Has a similar effect to Brionarch. You can discard up to 2 cards and then target as many cards as you discarded from your opponent and destroy them. So yeah, in general, pretty good card. Next up, we run one Adamancipator, Risen Dragite. Also awesome card, as long as we have a water monster in our grave, which will be always. We have a spell, Trap Negate right here. Awesome level 8 synchro. Next up, we also run one White Aura Whale. Also awesome level 8 synchro, a real offensive beast, because if this card is synchro summoned, you can destroy all monsters in attack position your opponent controls. It can attack 2 monsters in the battle phase, and it has piercing battle damage. And if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, you can target 1 other water monster in your graveyard, banish it, and then special summon this card as a tuner. Next up, we also run one Ravenous Croco Dragon Archithis. Awesome card you will always see because it's part of your basic combo. This level 9 synchro monster has the effect that it gains 500 attack for each card in your hand, and you can only use each effect once per turn. If it's synchro summoned, you can draw 1 card for each non-tuner monster that was used to synchro summon this card, which is insane. And also it has the quick effect that you can discard 2 cards and then choose 1 card on the field and destroy it. Really great card and definite one-off. We only need 1 because we have other level 9 synchro monsters we want to get out. For example, our Trishula, a real classic in this deck with an awesome effect, because if this card is synchro summoned, you can banish 1 card from your opponent's hand, his side of the field, and his graveyard, which is insane. Let's talk about the level 10 synchros next. First of all, we run one Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Chengying. Awesome card in this deck, because this card gains 100 attack and defense for each banished card, and your opponent's monster lose 100 attack for each banished card. Also, if it would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish 1 card from your graveyard instead, and if a card is banished, you can banish 1 card each from both your opponent's field and graveyard. Awesome card that can help you finish the game, and definite one-off, because we have plenty of others synchro 10s we want to get out. For example, our Lancia, the Ancestral Dragon of the Ice Mountain. This brand new card has an amazing effect, because once per chain, if your opponent special summons a monster, you can special summon 1 Ice Barrier monster from your hand, deck, extra deck, or graveyard, and then you can change 1 attack position monster from your opponent to defense position. This is the card that brings out our great locks like Raiho, for example. And also, if this face-up synchro summon card is in its owner's control and leaves the field by opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Ice Barrier synchro monster from your extra deck, which is treated as synchro summon, which is insane. I would like to run 2. The card was pretty pricey when I got it, so I only had 1 at first. But in some duels I had with this deck by now, it showed that a second one can't hurt. So my recommendation is definitely run 2. Next up, we also run 1 Ice Jade Jimir Ejirin. Still not sure if that's the right name, but this card is also pretty great. It has the effect face-up monsters you control cannot be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects this turn. Then, if you activated this effect in response to your opponent's card or effect activation, and your opponent has a card with that name on their field and graveyard, you can banish those cards. If a card is banished by your opponent's card effect while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. So generally a good defensive card in this deck. I'm honest with you, I didn't use it that much, but it can definitely help. So yeah, pretty decent card. And the last synchro monster we run in the extra deck is Trishula, Zero Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This level 11 Synchro monster has this effect that when this card is Synchro summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards your opponent controls, and if the Synchro summoned card in its owner's control is destroyed by your opponent's card, you can special summon 1 Trishula from your extra deck or graveyard. Its attack become 3300, and then you have the attack of any face-up monsters your opponent currently controls and also negate their effects. Insane good card, especially if you think about the fact that you can bring this card out if Lancea is destroyed, and if then your Zero Dragon is destroyed, you can still bring out a Trishula. So really great card in this deck. And that's it for the extra deck. Folks, I really hope you enjoyed. That's it for today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you like the content. Don't forget to also check out the combo video where I show you how this deck really performs, and I show you a basic combo which lets you draw 4 cards in your turn, which is totally insane. So don't forget to check that out. And of course, until next time, have a good one.